What does this, and this all have in common with this? Pet medication? No, it's not. It's a third generation Apple TV, and it's using the same processor that these are using, at least a version of it. We're gonna ask, does this have a use in 2023? I paid $22.65 counting shipping for this. We're gonna go in from the back so you guys don't see my address going in from the back. Will you subscribe to my channel, please? Ooh, look, it's the Apple. And that's actually surprisingly dense. Nothing else. You go over there, pet meds. Got our nice cable and our box. 1080p and HDMI. Such features. Unboxing experience. Ooh, wait, does it have its... Oh, sweet. It's just like new. Apple stickers, except the thing is, I don't think Apple would ship you an Apple TV that's like this beat up when it's new, but, I mean... Hey, the remote's even in there. HDMI. Is this an Apple HDMI cable? It has HDMI, micro USB. Oh my God, micro USB. I did not know an Apple product had micro USB until I bought this. We've got optical audio, which isn't this type of audio. It's different, and obviously Ethernet. And since I don't have a fancy sound system to extract the HDMI audio and put it to my regular speakers, I had to buy something else right here, JTech. So basically, if this thing even works, which I hope it does, I'm gonna pour it out. It should take the HDMI audio and put it into the ice cream cones. The mess here is gonna be turned into something. Gotta clear this stuff away. That's because we're adding a monitor. Gotta plug in my janky assortment of crap. Vanilla and then cherry. Then I got my adapter here. This is more of a janky assortment than I thought. Radio Shack. This is a mess.
Welcome to Apple TV. To use VoiceOver with your Apple TV.
And also, it's not showing any picture, but my janky audio, whatever it is, works. Oh, it wasn't on. That might be important. Use an iPhone.
Welcome to Apple TV.
Jesus. Use iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch using iOS 7 or later, and touch this Apple TV with it. Let's use this thing. I don't know why it still has power.
Welcome to Apple TV. To use...
That's what it said. It's not doing anything. Connecting. The Wi-Fi is working, I think, hopefully, maybe. There was a problem. We're not going to connect because we're an old Apple TV that hates you. That's right, it kept failing to enter my password, and I had to enter the password manually with the remote a bunch of times before it would work, but it does work. And it's a 10-year-old Apple TV, obviously, and it's also a third generation. But don't let that confuse you or get you wondering, because this is the third generation of the Apple TVs. They originally released the third generation Apple TV in 2012, but decided to make another third generation Apple TV in 2013. So this is an Apple TV third generation. It's the 2013 third generation model. And be careful if you're buying one of these on eBay, because the worst third generation and this third generation are about the same price, and make sure you get one that has the right model number, A1469 nice, and not the other model number. 8 gigabytes of storage, not a whole lot, but it's an Apple TV, so who cares? And was purchased in March of 2016. And the only port that there's no immediately obvious use for is the micro USB port. So what's it for? Well, it turns out that it's for plugging it into your computer. It shows up in Finder like an iPod would or an iPhone, except all you can do is restore it. So there's no syncing music to it like you'd ever want that anyway. It doesn't have Apple Music, it has iTunes, so you can buy songs on this thing like you're a savage from the year 2007. It's obviously not an iPhone, and it's also not an app store either. Well, it's an Apple TV, not an app store, but it doesn't have an app store. It never did. You are stuck with these apps forever, and most of them do not work, and the ones that work are very slow. Not that I really wanted to watch PBS Kids, but if I wanted to, I couldn't. It just says it's unavailable. So you can't download VLC to watch video formats that this thing doesn't support, because Apple is goofy and they only support certain video formats. So if you have home videos in, say, the AVI format, you can't go to your computers tab on your Apple TV, browse through your computer, and play them. No. In fact, they won't even show up because you can't put them in your Apple TV library on your Mac to watch on your Apple TV, and that's a huge process just to watch a home video, or definitely not pirated movies, because you don't do illegal things, do you? This Apple TV can play YouTube if you travel back in time, because the YouTube app doesn't work on it. In fact, my Apple TV doesn't even have the YouTube app on it, because I guess that Apple removed it. It would be nice if it could watch YouTube. Now, the remote. It's good. I also dropped it, which I think I can do quite a bit because it seems very durable. It's made out of one piece of aluminum. I mean, Apple and their over-engineering. It does get cold in the hand if your room is cold, but that doesn't really matter, I suppose, because it's just a remote. You cannot use the remote to change the volume, because this Apple TV does not support changing volume, which is interesting. You also may have noticed that I switch my shirt a lot in this video. That's because you are subscribing to my channel right now. I totally didn't miss one time when I was trying to be fancy for the video and spin it like that. But yeah, it still works. See? And now that we know that it works, it's actually a tight plug. It's time to take it apart. Well, that's because we have to see what's inside of it, of course. The official guide said to use these. Now, that would destroy the bottom, and I don't want to do that. It did make a dent. This is a rather cursed site. Hey, I think I know a life hack. I gotta stand. Look at this. Okay, enough distractions. Out. This is hard to get into. I'm just trying to release the clips, you know? They're just not releasing. There we go. Logic board, power supply. There's the damage from me trying to get in there. I honestly would prefer some screws at the bottom, but this is Apple, and screws are ugly. It'll pry with the spudger, and there it is. Here you go. That's what an Apple TV looks like. The only other thing in here is the status LED. I think those are thermal pads. It's almost like they need to cool things down. And now to put it back together. Hopefully it still works. Here we go. All the screws are tightened. It's all back. The only thing left is to put that on, and then we have a hopefully working Apple TV. It wasn't dirty inside, not surprising because there's no fan and there's no way for dust to get in there really, so no cleaning had to be done, and I didn't get electric shocked by the power supply, which is always a plus. Making sure to put it in the right orientation, let's slap it back on there. Oh, it was as simple as that. Okay, there we go. A lot easier than taking it off. There's only a little bit of damage from me being in there, you know, like right there, and a little bit there maybe, and there, and there. So all four sides. What this is most useful for to someone that would be buying a 10-year-old Apple TV is probably AirPlay. And yes, you can AirPlay any of your Apple devices to it, and it works. There are probably cheaper or similarly priced new devices that support AirPlay that have, you know, modern features, like apps that actually work, but if you want something with an Apple logo on it that you can use to AirPlay, your best bet would be this Apple TV here. Remember the monitor from the beginning? I used it to watch shows in bed. I hooked this Apple TV up to it, and every night for a couple weeks, I used it to watch shows. I stopped because it's a terrible experience, or I guess I should say mediocre. Instead of the Apple TV, I started using this. This is Apple's last plastic MacBook. I have a video about this computer linked below, by the way. It's from 2010, and when using it for entertainment, it feels just as fast as my M1 MacBook Pro, as long as you don't multitask too much. Watching YouTube, playing back files, Apple TV, the streaming service, all work perfectly. And if I had Netflix, that would work too. Sadly, it doesn't have an IR receiver, so I can't use the Apple TV's remote with it. I can on the $1 MacBook because it does have an IR receiver, but it's not fast enough to be useful for what I'm trying to do. I won't go too deep in the fact that I tried to make my own IR receiver. Yes, you can do that. Only after taking apart the MacBook did I realize that the IR receiver it had would not work for what I was trying to do, even though the resource I was using said it would work for what I was trying to do, but it didn't work because it just didn't. It was not all of one unit, and I wasted a lot of time. Don't you just love it when you do that? I can still use a remote with it though, sort of. The mobile mouse app on my phone, yes, it works to control the computer, and it even has a remote page as well. Not as good as having a real remote, but it does work. So that's right, a 13-year-old MacBook is a better Apple TV than this Apple TV. The message of this video isn't, if you're in the market for an old Apple TV, get a MacBook instead, but if you have one of these guys lying around, you may want to give it a try. That's all for this video. Thank you for subscribing, or you're bad, drop a like, and this week the $1 a month supporters get an extra video. I'm going to show you 10 things I did to improve my setup. Supporter of the week this week is nobody, because I don't have any $10 supporters. Next week, I got sent the wrong iPods, so get subscribed for that.